Do consumers want information about aquaculture? This is the question we have been studying in the framework of AquaIMPACT European program. It was in Task 4, Communication, Dissemination and Exploitation, precisely in the subtask Stakeholders Consultation to identify key issues to increase societal awareness. The consumers' focus groups are repeated managed discussion groups favoring interaction, and it is a relevant method to elicit qualitative information about consumers' perceptions, beliefs, attitudes, and arguments about a subject or question, which here was about the relation of consumers to information about aquaculture and fish farming. We performed a series of 5 consumers' focus groups in each of the 3 countries, Finland, France, Spain, during spring and summer 2019. We had about 10 participants per focus group. We recruited fish consumers with diversified profiles, the condition that they had no professional connection with marketing or agri-food sector. We elaborated a common guide to moderate the discussion with 3 main themes. One about fish consumption habits and choices, one about information existing about fish farming and the needs expressed by consumers for information on that topic, and what about receiving a set of information on fish farming. And that third team included testing the reactions of consumers after being shown a basic information package that I will show you briefly. Each focus group lasted 1.5 to 2 hours, and they all were fully recorded by audio and video, fully transcribed before analysis. As for this set of basic information, it including 8 slides, 1 for title, 2 for presentation of aquaculture at global scale and its diversity, and 5 about Atlantic salmon farming in Europe that was chosen as a common example for the 3 countries. It included information about feeding, breeding, diseases and medicine use, and about environmental impact, regulation and controls. The results about fish consumption's habits and choices, unsurprisingly, showed that the list of consumed species are different in the 3 countries. As for farm species, in Finland it is Norwegian salmon, which is mainly consumed. In France, salmon is also the most quoted, but also trout, sea bass and sea bream, and some other freshwater fishes. And in Spain, salmon is also number 1, but also are consumed gilt-tailed sea bream, European sea bass. And we noted a rejection of Pengasus and tilapia. In the 3 countries, a preference for whitefish is often quoted, but it is not a condition for all people. Some consumers never buy farm fish, while others buy both wild and farm fish. And some participants just do not pay attention whether the fish is wild or farmed. As criteria for choice, we must underline that other criteria than wild and farm are mentioned. It is price, family habits, convenience, bones, which are all classical criteria when buying fish. About information existing on fish farming and the needs for information, the state of existing information on fish farming is perceived as scarce in France, but is not actively searched, but also by some participants in Finland and Spain. It is perceived as abundant by some other participants in Finland and Spain. The sources of received information are quite diverse, with a lot of mass media and notably TV, which is frequently mentioned in France as providing information which is mainly negative. At that stage of the discussion, the consumers expressed doubts and questions about fish farming, and that was the case mostly in France, but also in Finland, but less in Spain, where controlled production is perceived positively by part of participants. Consumers expressed in the 3 countries a need for information about fish farming on many topics. And when we opened the discussion about receiving a set of information on fish farming, first we presented the 8 slides on world aquaculture and European salmon farming. And as you see on the right side of the screen, we ask the question, can you evaluate on a scale from 1 to 5 if this set of information brings new information to you compared to what you knew before? Well, the broad information is considered more new by participants in Finland and Spain than in France. In the 3 countries, the consumers were mostly satisfied, but in France, they were less satisfied than in the 2 other countries, and they claimed for more detailed information. In France, we saw that some people considered positively the presented information as it was prepared by scientists, while some participants criticized the style and the content as too vague, so potentially hiding negative aspects. And that was also mentioned by some participants in Finland. In France, some people said it is a lenient, reassuring text, which sounds more like propaganda than information. And this shows that how difficult it is to build some communication for all consumers. For future communication in the 3 countries, there is a real interest for receiving information on aquaculture, and notably on fish farming, as for other food that was explicitly expressed. And about the information on fish farming, the participants expressed that they want information on a wide range of topics, from farming conditions to regulation, controls, nutrition and health. And for farming conditions, they want information about feed, drugs, especially antibiotics, the relation to environment and the animal welfare. And about animal welfare, that was mainly mentioned by participants in Spain and Finland. They want information including also negative sides concerning the activity. And they wish to receive complete information because they want to be able to choose food which is good for their health. And that was explicitly mentioned. Some mention of certification or labels was done by some participants as a way to get an overall guarantee. That was the case in France and Spain, or a way for bringing information on the activity. That was mentioned by participants in Finland. The adequate channels and trustworthiness of information sources have been discussed, but the results are too diverse to be described here. And I want to underline that beyond the question of information dissemination, in France, some consumers expressed harsh criticisms on intensive fish farming and their will to buy food according to their ethical choices. As a conclusion, I would say the good news is that consumers are interested in receiving information about fish farming as for any other food production. Because today, for consumers, this is a matter of health. Moreover, the participants said they want very complete information. And as we saw before, it is both on technical aspects, but also on a lot of other aspects. Many possible means for communicating have been quoted by the participants, so we can imagine that many different means could be built up in order to communicate to a large audience. We saw also that the content and the style of the speech should be adapted, and in order to inspire confidence, and this is a very delicate point. But for part of the consumers, as appeared in France, the main question is not today to receive information, but how farming is done, with a clear rejection of intensive farming by some participants. Well, this first qualitative survey in consumer study has been used as a basis for a quantitative survey where in the 3 countries and with 1,200 people answering. And this quantitative study today, the results are under analysis. Thank you very much for your attention.